What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Milo and Milo Watch Movies. Thanks for joining us again. Rabbit, I should say. It is November 1st, 2021.
Yes, happy month day.
It is about 9:09 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, yeah?
Mountain Standard Time.
We're in the Rockies.
Rocking you while I'm talking to you.
This week we had a very exciting movie, The Orphan, or just Orphan. Good God, I've ruined it. Just Orphan.
Or The Girl Omen. The Good Daughter. Or any other
type of
exploitation. We found out it was called.
we found out that's a term, but we didn't want to Google that.
Evil kid.
Yeah, more on that later, folks. So obviously I am Katie Milo, and I have here with me my handsome, lovely, intelligent, and critically watching film partner, Mr. Charlie Milo.
You're too good to me, motherfucker.
I try. So again, I guess we finished up watching this horror movie because it was Shocktober. So obviously, happy belated Hanukkah. Nope. Happy belated Halloween. Both are shocking. And Hanukkah has the CH, which could be shocking.
And somebody asked me if all we were going to be doing is horror films, and that is not
true.
Just the first two happen to be horror films because when October comes around, we kind of
do the horror
dive into the
thing.
genre.
I'm using my way in, but we decided to see what was up with this movie, and it got weird.
It did get a little weird.
It got a little weird. So how have you been? How did you feel about this film over this past week before we get into this overview? Like, because you got to pick the first movie that we saw.
And this was your pick.
And this was my pick, just like real random.
I liked it, but I think that we're hitting another evolutionary point in the podcast, which is this movie was too good. I enjoyed it too much to probably talk about it for an hour.
Yeah, there was too much thinking. Yeah, it wasn't nearly as cheesy as Wax.
It's not that there was too much thinking. Like, it was pretty easy to grasp. And
yeah, definitely. I thought that too.
Well, I mean, like we said more on it later, but I thought that there was going to be like a supernatural element, like she was,
totally
possessed by the devil or demons or whatever.
Yeah, but I guess if that had happened, then it would have just been boring. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends how they play it, but.
And how was How was your this past week in between episodes?
It was a tough one. It was a week. It lasted the whole. It was
like a month long.
The whole week. But I'm happy to be sitting here with you discussing this very important film that was made in 2009.
All right.
That was released in July of 2009, which also seems weird, like summer horror film thing.
You looked up some of the other films that came out in July of 2009.
I did.
There wasn't a lot happening for a summer.
July was a little rough. June was a better month. That was like The Hangover. The Proposal was in it. Like G.I. Joe.
The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
I like that you listed that as like a big movie.
Whatever. Sandra Bullock. She's this fucking Hollywood actress.
Yeah.
Like old school Stilo.
She's rare. You got to try and catch her with a net.
Oh my god. Okay. Side note: The Net is one of my favorite films.
We might have to do that for the.
No, it's too good.
Is it too? Is really The Net's too good?
Oh my god! How dare you? We're gonna need a separate side note podcast about how good the fucking Net is. Yes.
Do you think that we'll need to do an entire like mini series podcast just on The Net, and we'll go chapter by chapter, scene by scene?
All right, listen, don't threaten me with a good time. Don't threaten me with a good time. That's all I gotta say.
In between our Orphan research, we also got a bit nostalgic and checked out some VH1's Celebrity, the Surreal Life, Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, and what was it, Tiffany on Rock of Love? Whatever her name was.
Tiffany Pollard, aka Miss New York.
No, the Don't Throw Me the Good Time girl from Rock of Love.
Oh shit!
The one who like banged on the door and begged to be let back
Her
in,
name
and then
was
she
Tiffany.
drank
You're
up all
right.
the booze, and she's like,
Wow, deep cuts, bro.
Anywho,
Shout out to Tiffany season 1 Rock of Love, which leads fairly seamlessly into the film.
the overview.
The overview.
And so, Katie, this is basically your special segment because you take the notes while the movie's going.
Oh my god,
You do a good job with them note taking. You're a note taker.
I've been known to take a note from a time to do. So basically, I mean, I don't want to give anybody a stroke by telling you exactly what you could, watch on the movie yourself.
No, just take us through the movie. So if people haven't seen the movie and they want to enjoy the rest of the podcast with some context.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. No props. So basically this is a movie that has Vera Farmiga, Peter Skarsgård, and she was how old when she filmed this? 11? 10 or 11? Isabelle Fuhrman.
I think that they found out that she was actually 33, but she lied about her age.
No, in real life. Oh.
The little
got me,
actress,
ladies and
I'm
gentlemen.
not sure. She looked to me to be like 10.
Okay.
Around 10.
Something like that.
But somewhere between 9 and 11.
45.
And 45.
So that's sort of the main characters. There's 2 other kiddos that the family has, but like opens in this like really pretty idyllic,
It's
like
Maxine
sunny,
and
like,
Larry.
super like bright shot, pregnant Vera going to the hospital happy to have a baby, pregnant, says it's her 3rd. All of a sudden is bleeding in distress. Everything is a little warped. Nurse is like, your baby's dead. And she gets handed like a dead baby and then wakes up out of a dream to real life, which is like gray and cold. And she like takes pills and clearly is in pain and has decided that she's going to adopt a older kid because she had love for a child that she did lose, and wants to give these like 2 other kids in her house a sibling,
And she wants to give the love that they had for somebody who really deserves it,
which would be their phraseology. We would never speak like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to this like orphanage essentially, right? And stumble upon this seemingly perfect, quiet, artsy girl who has some sort of a Russian accent.
Soviet Mary Poppins,
Totally.
but in a fun size package.
Dad stumbles upon her, but not in any sort of nefarious way. And so, 2 weeks later, they take her home. She starts to fit into the family, but seems like super smart. But the entire time, there's not a ton of weird shit happening other than thinking like, I wonder if she's possessed. I wonder what's going on with her. And then she just starts to get a little creepy with the dad and like wants to be close to him and starts
more than
like,
a little creepy.
Yeah.
Let me sleep with Daddy.
Yeah,
I want
there's
to play
like
with
lightning.
your moose and squiddles.
Yes, there's a lightning issue where she wants to go get in the bed and like spoons the dad. And I'm not saying like a child can't spoon their father, of course, but when you get to the end and you figure out what's going on and then you repeat the view, it's like, I want to snuggle daddy.
So what do you think was with the Russian accent? Do you think that was just because that's sort of that there was a little bit of the true story element to that, like the Ukraine?
Well,
because there was there was 2. There was one who like was Ukrainian and got caught impressing a missing boy named Adam.
Oh shit.
And then there's the one that we saw talking to Dr. Phil McGraw, the one who looked like I just remembered her name, but I won't say it, and she's probably not listening.
Okay, fair. Who was like a small just she looked like somebody who had some sort of genetic issue, but like nothing, didn't look like a little kid the way that this was portrayed, of course. And I think the Russian accent probably is more complicated than we give credit. But I mean, the Cold War's not really over. You know,
I was gonna say I wanted all that. I wanted the actors to shake her and be like, "Kid, the Cold War is over. It's over."
Or and somehow it was like not creepy enough, and something about like icy Siberia, or like, you know, it somehow seems realistic enough that like records could be lost coming from Russia in like modern times. I don't
just
know,
like lost in the snow.
Yeah. I just imagine like a tundra and like, you know, people just, I don't know, freezing and drinking vodka
and losing files all over the place.
Losing files all over the place. That's not racist. It's just, you know, Russia.
It just every part, or every time that they hit Russia in this movie, it seems a little too on the nose. Like her real name ends up, spoiler alert, her real name ends up being Lina Klama, which totally sounds like a Hogan Heroes villain, or like
it does,
or like somebody that fucking Chuck Norris would go up against in like a movie in the 80s.
Well, in the way you say it, it sounds more German, like, but like
Lina Klammer.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it does sound more German, but the Klammer.
But either way, and I think that part of it is like they get pushed together. I don't know, something about that, like, and maybe because we adopt a lot of kids from Russia. Not we as a couple, but Americans, yes. Like maybe that's just more of like a.
Is that like a stat?
There are statistics around this, yes.
About Russian kids getting adopted?
Yeah, for sure. And like Eastern European kiddos, for sure.
That's probably why two of them, like there's enough of a pool for two of them to rise up and try and kill their parents.
I was going to say,
girl
we've
with
only heard of
dwarfism
two.
That Dr. Phil was talking to,
we've only heard
had
of two.
been with 30 families before the one that she was with when she was talking to Dr. Phil.
Shit. I mean, obviously with real people, there's all sorts of
like 30 people,
concerns.
30 couples were like, no, fuck this child, and that's not enough of a clue.
Well, but also I thought that like there was like, didn't she try and kill them?
Some of them, I think.
Also, but like, how do you get away with like attempted murder that many times without being found out?
What I love is Dr. Phil was talking to because the parents who were like, no, fuck this bitch, she's like menstruating and speaks like a fully grown adult. They were charged with neglect because they like left her in this apartment. They left her with some food stamps in an apartment that they paid for. They were like, here's your first fucking couple of months rent. Fuck you. We're gone.
Okay.
But then Dr. Phil was like, well, even though they gave her an apartment and some food stamps, I mean, this girl couldn't even reach the countertops.
You know
so
what?
I just imagine like a girl like
well, a lot of us need
like a Chucky
stools.
trying to reach up towards the counter.
Dr. Phil, not a real doctor. Tragic.
Diarrhea.
30 families. Yeah, well, and I mean, you're sort of supposed to think that this girl, Esther,
I'm sorry, back to the overview.
In the movie has been with multiple families as well. Like, I think that that's part of the premise too, is that like somehow the records get lost. Although, side note, she's at this like Catholic orphanage, right? So there's a nun who's sort of like a player in this, and like
CCH Pounder,
crushed
that role.
She was fucking excellent.
I was
Excellent
telling
sister.
you earlier before we started recording, I could have just watched a whole movie of her just sort of like talking to parents and helping kids get adopted with like no plot, and her just being like, she's very mature for her age,
right?
You know?
And like just going through files and like being like, interesting, I talked to this agency. They're like, ooh, what happened? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there was just like the nun's point of view movie.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Although it would end short because, spoiler alert, she gets killed.
Hammer time.
Yeah. Esther, the little one, finds a hammer and like fucks this nun up, and it's upsetting and overly gory, but you know, that's movies for you. But what I think is crazy is, so this nun helps her get adopted, right? And later down the line, when the parents start having concerns, the nun sort of shows up to be like, hey, we've had concerns. Side note, every time a child gets hurt, she's there. And it's like, things you might have wanted to tell me yesterday. Like, I don't know how that just goes out of your brain, or you just forget that, like, she potentially burned down her house and killed her last partner.
She got caught up in the thrill of actually getting one of these little bastards away from the orphanage. She was like, yes, take her away. And then when some trouble started happening, she was like, you know, about Esther.
I'm a woman of God, so I can't do that.
There might be something wrong with Esther, which is the tagline for the movie, which they had to change a couple of times for some reason. So that also led to the confusion surrounding what this movie was about. Like it was there's something wrong with Esther, and then, which is different than there's something about Mary. Right. Yeah, I don't think the 11-year-old girl got the jism in her hair. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't think Isabelle Furman got Ben Stiller's cum-cums in her hair. That's fair and illegal. But, you know, there's always that. And so what else happened in the movie? So Isabelle Furman, the child Esther, starts getting more and more destructive, pushing kids off of stuff, like basically tries that bitch had it coming. She gets bullied, and like, yeah, no, everybody wants to like push their bully or hurt their bully, but like she is just trying to like murder kids left and right. She's clearly wanting to, at some point it becomes clear that she like wants to drive the parents apart. And nobody believes the mom that there's something happening, even though it's clear that there's something happening, but like the kids are too afraid to talk. And the youngest kid is actually deaf and doesn't speak. And so that's also part of it is, there's a ton of use of like silence and sign language, which builds some of that suspense, but also makes it even like harder to think about, like, how do you tell them what's going on if they can see you speaking, you know? Because your murderer's at the table. And then there was a brother who was kind of obnoxious, but then he got the shit beat out of him also. His name was Daniel. Danielson. And that wasn't very fair either. And so essentially it leads to this climax, right, of everybody thinks mom is crazy. And then we find Esther trying to seduce the father. And that's when all of a sudden she goes into this like rage, pulls off her wig, or not her wig, pulls out her like teeth and pulls off her ribbons and reveals little scars around her neck.
From like being,
that was a good scene. That
being
was
like hurt in like an institution.
I remember watching that, being like, oh shit, this is badass. And
looks in the mirror, and it's like an old lady, little girl, who then obviously has to kill Peter Skarsgård.
And she does. And she fucks him up.
And she does. Yeah, she fucks him up pretty good, even though, and he rejects her, which again, that's the right thing to do. She's 11 though, but then she's 33.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then basically she gets a boot to the teeth and drowns, right?
So that's
great overview, babe. Great appearance, beat.
It's a work in progress. We're all just trying our best here. Like I said, it's been a week. Yeah, it finishes with them on this like icy lake fighting, kicks her super violently, and she dies. Maybe.
Question mark. The end. Question mark.
All in all, it was pretty okay.
Yeah. So trailer. So which brings us to our next segment, The trailer for this movie. What did you think about the trailer for this movie?
Well, we were discussing this before the podcast, if you can believe it. I thought the trailer was like okay. You know, I mean, it sets up that like a family is looking for like a kid to adopt. And like maybe there's something going on with her, but you don't really know. I don't know. I feel like the trailer didn't really tell me much of anything, but made me feel curious.
What to you constitutes a good horror trailer? Specifically horror. I think the suspense helps. Like, I don't want to see too much of the movie in the trailer, or else I'm like, oh, I've seen the movie. Like, I don't really want to know what's happening with the bad guy. Did that happen
or even
in this
necessarily.
trailer?
No. I mean, obviously you knew that like something was going on with her, but you know about that when you see the box and it's like this creepy girl's face.
Right.
You know, like the cover is just like the girl staring into it, not looking totally right.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that Esther was going to be like a new Chucky, because when you watch the interviews with Isabelle, they're all like, "Oh, you know, your face is going to be burned into the nightmares of people for long time to come."
Yeah, and they promoted it like it was. I mean, again, they thought it was going to be like the hottest shit ever. And she was getting interviewed like she was going to be almost like the next Linda Blair or something. Like, oh my God, how was this? And the other thing I kept thinking, and again, maybe this is overthinking, but this was still like a little girl who had to act and do this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And there's something about that for me that just feels kind of strange.
Well, I don't know if you saw this interview, but one of the interviews with Peter Skarsgård and Vera Parmigiana, she was talking about how all the darkness was acted out with like body doubles and stunt doubles, and Peter Skarsgård says that her mother wouldn't have let her, or didn't let her do anything that they didn't feel comfortable with her doing. Okay. So because the interviewer, and these guys are a total bunch of boob weed kind of guy, dick weed kind of guys. They're all just like, "Were you excited to be in the movie?" Like it's like Paul Lynde interviewer, but more obnoxious. "Were you excited to be in the movie?" But they asked her what was it like, or they asked Vera if she was going to be sort of like the face of kitty exploitation, and she very wearily and tiredly says, "I don't think my career is in trouble of going in that direction."
Yeah, and Peter Skarsgård just is taken aback because, like, we did not
Exploitation. Is that a thing?
I love that you think he's Irish. He's not. He's an American.
He's Scottish. Dude. He's a Scot.
He's just an American dude, but
Peter Skarsgård.
I appreciate that.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Well, and then there's
Beam me up, Scotty.
There are Skarsgårds that are also like Norwegian.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Oh shit, that was dead on. Shout out to our friends in Norway.
Hello, Norskies and Swedes.
Yeah, I didn't even know that like childsploitation was a thing that people were like using in any kind of casual context.
When that word came up,
movie where like the kid is the
when that idiot drops that phrase, you were like, I kind of want to look it up, but I definitely don't want to look it up because then we'll be on a list.
Yeah, no, everything about this felt like just a little too close to like some sort of wrong edge, but maybe that's also just, I'm getting older. I'm finding things.
And you want to protect the children.
I just want to protect the children. Although I bet this girl has more money in the bank than,
Oh, after Hunger Games and whatever the fuck else
and she was in Hunger Games. And she had another accent in Hunger Games.
I think she had a Hispanic accent in Hunger Games.
Just like a generalized Hispanic accent, or was she supposed to be like
I'm not an expert in Hispanic dialects, so
but you are a cunning linguist.
Oh my God.
What happened? What had happened?
You know,
yeah, that's
come
so
to think
that's
of it,
really
it just hit me just now.
Mm.
I don't know if she actually had a Hispanic accent or if I just watched like a bad lip reading video where they like made her have a Hispanic accent because it was like funny. Like when she's got the knife to the sparrow. What was her name? Sparrow?
The little one?
No. The main Katniss. She's got a knife.
Sparrow.
She's got a knife to. I knew it was an animal. Of some sort. She's got a knife to Sparrow. It says Katniss's throat. To Katniss's throat. And in this fucking bad lip reading video, it's like, what you think I'm crazy, essay or something like that.
Oh, baby.
I told you I'm not a Hispanic
I just
expert.
appreciate that you thought that was maybe actually the accent she was going for was like a 45-year-old like cholo man from like maybe Southern California or something.
I don't remember if she actually had an accent in Hunger Games or not, and I must have written that down in my notes like 3 times.
I like your memories version of it because now I have a whole new sense of this like international person that could be this actress.
I'm gonna cut you up so bad that you're gonna that you're gonna wish I didn't cut you up so bad.
Oh shit. Well, now she's like, this was 14 years ago.
Yeah, now she's showing her ass on Instagram and stuff. Like all the videos that are like, where is she now? It's got videos of her like posing in bathing suits and stuff. And
it's very like Instagram.
It just made
weird.
me not want to check it out because I don't know. There's something weird about seeing an actress when they're like a kid and then being like, oh, well, now they're hot.
Once they like, cross this thing, it's like now it's cool.
That weird. Kid that I saw in that creepy movie, oh, she's a beeb. Yeah, it's just like,
yeah, I think that's fair. I also think that's one of the things that differentiates you from
shush.
some others that may be a little more problematic.
You shut your mouth.
And also, another thing that's of interesting note is that
you shut your mouth, girl.
This movie was produced by none other than Leonardo DiCaprio
for Appian Way Productions.
What do you think about that? What do you think about this? Was like Leonardo being like, yes, I need to get my hand in the game.
I don't know. I couldn't really find anything about it, but it seems like in Hollywood, people will just be like, yeah, put my name on that.
Right. You probably put up some money.
But what was interesting for those of you who don't be knowing, the first film that we watched was House of Wax, and that was my pick. And I thought it would be a good one because Paris Hilton, 2005, yada, yada, yada. That was produced by Joel Silver for Dark Castle Productions. And that was going to be sort of Warner Brothers' like slightly lower budget horror film division. And this one was your pick, and you picked it without knowing that not only was it produced by Joel Silver for Dark Castle along with Leo Dica for Appian Way, but it was also directed by the same person, the Jamie Collet Smith. Wame Collet Smith.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Wame or not.
J-A-U.
I think he's Hispanic, so it wouldn't be a Wa. It would be like a Jwame. I don't know.
Maybe we should go ask him.
I was gonna say,
but he actually did have an accent for real. That's true, and he didn't speak a ton on the behind the scenes for House of Wax.
He didn't. You barely saw him talk, and I think that's because for that movie they were just like Paris,
right.
Paris gets killed, Paris.
That's fair, yeah.
And then, but I liked this movie enough that I actually went out and bought the DVD copy of it, which I have a few tangents off of that to springboard off of, but one of which was almost every single movie you buy, whether it's a good movie or a bad movie, has some kind of feature-length commentary, and this one did not, which makes me think that the director does not know any good words.
Or he's just,
or he's shy
to record his voice.
So this movie had some controversy, some backlash, if you will. This movie had much backlash.
What did you find to be the biggest backlash about this?
Well, it seems like it hammered a lot on the like adoption side of things for to get some of the scare source from.
Right.
And so they're like the adoption agent, the adoption anti-defamation league or whatever was like, fuck this movie. It's all about fucking, hating on orphans and Russians and shit. So when you watch the DVD or the Blu-ray after the trailers, there's like, hey, Orphan is a fictional piece of work,
right? And shouldn't
what isn't
you.
fictional,
right?
Orphans, and you should. And it's like a little 30-second infomercial about how orphans will not kill you,
and
although clearly they will.
Although Dr. Phil told me
they're all
different.
30, and they're all
Right.
secretly midgets,
and like nobody really knows where they come from. Which also
with
one would think that would be
hyperthemia or whatever the disease is they say at the end.
And also one would think that like what would be more concerning is like, how did you get all these kids that you don't like really know where they came from? Like these
For
are
an
actual
orphanage?
children.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, like yeah.
Like how do you like collect enough kids to do
again, I
an
know I'm
orphanage?
overthinking it, but like some of the backlash to this movie was like, it potentially like portrays orphans or adopting as bad and scary because you're going to adopt a kid and they're going to kill you. And like I think that that's on some level every parent's basic fear is that their child is going to kill them at some point, right? Like it's our immortality, all that kind of good shit. But like there wasn't more backlash around like potential child exploitation or like what does it say about how we think of like dads or I don't know. They're just there were so many different like human dynamics that were problematic that to have this sort of like 3,000-foot view of like potentially you could dissuade somebody from adopting. It's like that's true and terrible, but also like what about all of the weird exploitation and like everything is two-dimensional. Like this dad was completely two-dimensional. Like he was like a nice guy kind of, but
it was nice to see a movie where the dad wasn't an asshole just because he's a man, but
he was just kind of an asshole because he just like is kind of an asshole.
No, he was just sort of dopey. Like they were like, yo, clearly something's going on, which I watched a couple or we started to watch that review where the guy was like, I hate when somebody when a movie uses the trope of only one person knows the truth and nobody else believes them. And I actually find that to be very compelling because it always makes me think of like Pippy Longstocking or whatever when she's like, no, I promise I'm a pirate or whatever. And they're like, stop lying, Pippy. And then at the end, she like saves everybody with her pirate skills or whatever it was. And the director of the orphanage in that movie is like, oh, Pippy, we misjudged you. And so you get this like, why doesn't anybody believe Parmigiana over here? And
and she never gets that validation. I mean, I guess she kind of does because
I think she does because
but her husband's dead. Her husband's dead, and so it's not like he can be like, I'm so sorry. She was super inappropriate, you're right. And like
I'm so sorry.
And her son is in the hospital with like a brain bleed from like shenanigans with her. You know what I mean? Like she tried to
That fire looked fake as hell.
Yeah, she tried to like burn down his tree house. Again, he was kind of an asshole to her. So there's also this little piece of it that like sort of wonders like
she's not my fucking sister.
Right. Like is it justified or are they trying to say like anyone can be pushed? But then again, it's, again, spoiler, like it's a 33-year-old woman who pretends to be a kid so she can get adopted.
Not very well either. She like cuts her steak into small pieces. because she's wearing veneers. Probably that's why she had to cut the steak into small pieces.
I thought maybe she cut it because she just like was so bloodthirsty. She just like needed to cut meat, like satisfied her like knife flesh feeling.
That was totally a like. Okay, I'm wearing like fake kids' teeth, so I've got.
So I gotta like cut small food pieces so my dentures don't fall out.
Drink them down like pills.
Maybe, yeah. I guess I wanted a little more. Like the psychological piece was interesting. But I don't get a ton of motivation. Like what happened to this girl? Like or this woman? Like what made her this like crazy killer other than she was Russian? And you know how Russians be killing.
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty much
that
the
was
only
sort of the
excuse.
And I guess again, you would wonder why there weren't more Russians
Alina
backlashing.
Clamor.
I mean, I would
She's
wonder.
a lean climber.
And now they're talking about making a prequel.
Oh. A prequel with Julia Stiles and everything?
I did hear that Julia Stiles may be attached, but I've been missing her for like the last 20 years, so I don't want to...
Was she a boy? And then turned into a girl?
Julia Stiles?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Hang on, let's see if Siri can.
But Julia Stiles was in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Transgender? Let's see what we got here.
I do not believe so, but I have not spoken to her in quite some time.
You know, I think I just saw a clickbait thing where it said celebrities that you never knew were transgender, and it had Julia Stiles' face on it. So fuck that website.
And I bet, did you click on it? You just
no, because if I had clicked on it, I would know that she is not transgender.
Or maybe you would have found out some incredible Hollywood secret that
Like
nobody knows except you, because nobody looks at the
alien.
internet. Well, alien for sure, possible. But that would be. But I'm curious to know, like, is it just going to be a prequel based on like this girl with like a different family?
I don't know. You know, I thought it would be
It's the
interesting if
exact
Isabelle
same
Furman
movie.
would be the mother this time. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think that would be interesting as well.
Okay, just making sure your shit was on. It looked like it was off for a second, but it's on.
You never betrusted me. But you know,
Which takes us smoothly into the bonus features segment.
So this is really your area of expertise, because I did not watch all of the bonus features.
I didn't watch all of them, but we're just trying to figure out how to slice this shit up into chunks so it's nice and digestible for the people, because they're wearing baby teeth. But
we have to swallow them like pills.
yes. So the alternate ending. So the real ending was her getting kicked in the mouth and sinking to the bottom of the pond or whatever.
Yes. Very snowy landscape, not unlike Russia.
Not unlike Russia.
During the winter.
So it's sort of like she went home, sort of. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, that pond is probably not as deep as, say, like the ocean, definitely, right? So she kind of falls to the.
I imagine it is not as deep as the ocean.
She kind of falls to the bottom like Jack from Titanic, but it's only like 7 feet, so she just kind of goes. Dunk,
She just like sits.
She can make it out of there. Is my point. She could make it out of there and kill again. But anyway. One of the bonus features was some deleted scenes, one of which was sort of peculiar with the oatmeal or the mashed potatoes. They were spitting them out of their mouth and stuff.
I did see that on the internet. It was just like a scene of them having dinner, and again, this like dad just getting very upset that they are making faces with potatoes, messing around, but it's like. It's just a dad yelling and like kids and mom having fun.
It's kind of bizarre because every movie has deleted scenes now. And sometimes you watch the deleted scenes and it sort of like adds to the movie and you're like, oh my God, that's why she did that. All of these deleted scenes were explained by the characters in the final cut of the movie. So some of them, like the food the playing with the food scene was sort of just out of context and not really necessary. And I think that was sort of a case of deleted scenes being added to the DVD, like just so that there's extra shit because fucking Jamie couldn't nut up and do a feature length commentary. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
I want to call him and be like, yo, Jamie, you got to do a commentary.
You gotta. Well, and also part of me wonders if like this was just so much like a passion project that like when he was done with it, he was like, no, I cannot. I have nothing left to say. I cannot go back to do the commentary. I don't know. He's French. The commentary. French Canadian, that is. Yeah, I mean, the behind the scenes was also a little strange because they're kids and they're like kind of giggling and having fun, and then they yell action and they're like in these like fairly intense often violent scenes, and so that also was sort of a curious like dichotomy,
just
like
watching them like, you know, smiling and pushing each other around, and then they go, like, then they go set, and then they just sort of like focus up and they go action,
right,
and then she like pretends to hit her with the hammer.
Like bloopers are like kind of a fun weird thing, but like when it comes to like comedy, right, so like Will Ferrell bloopers, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's kind of strange when you see somebody like joking around or making jokes, being like, ah, and then all of a sudden it's action and they're like, my baby's dead, and you're like, holy shit.
So talking about filling in
a roller coaster of emotions.
So talking about filling in holes and stuff that weren't there in the movie, I didn't understand a little bit of the, I guess, the blocking or the positioning or the choreography of the scene where they kill the nun, or Esther kills the nun, because she hits her with the hammer, they roll her down into the ditch or whatever, and then she tosses the hammer to like get rid of the evidence or whatever, and then the nun gets up, and then Esther's like there with the hammer again, like, and just like beats her again. And in the behind the scenes thing, they were like, all right, now look at her, and you find the hammer, you know, get the hammer again, now hit her, you know what I mean? So it was nice to hear that they at least were thinking about it rather than just being, you know, so that was
right. Like they have to cut some of that just human stuff, or else you're just watching like a person in the day like doing their normal mundane shit.
Well, and it just goes to show you like how much like sound overdubbing goes into movies, because like they're filming and there are microphones present, and the director's going like, you see her again, you get the hammer, you know, and they have to like delete that, put in all the atmospheric noises and the soundtrack and shit, you know, and all that stuff.
No, things you never knew until you saw, you know, the behind the scenes footage was how that actually worked, or how overdubbing, because I used to wonder like, how do you not hear these directors in the background like screaming, or, you know, like, because obviously you say action to mark the beginning of a scene, and like I was not a child who totally understood that movies weren't real. I definitely was of the ilk that thought like, how did they get these people to do this kind of thing? And like I knew that sometimes they were playing characters, but like I didn't understand how like these human bodies weren't actually getting like beat up, or like even in this movie, like, you know, there's some like beating the fuck out of people, and there were moments where I was like, oh my god, people are getting hurt.
That reminds me of when I was younger,
and smart,
and my older sister Tony asked my dad, how do they do death scenes in movies? And he said, well, they pay him a lot of money and they give him a certain amount of time to spend that money, and then they kill him.
Oh my god. You're like, forever?
Right.
I mean, yeah, and I guess that means it's a good movie, right? Because it took me out of reality. Like there were parts of reality that were suspended, and
suspension of disbelief.
Right. Well, and I think the other part is you know, the older I've gotten, the more I realize it's less the monster, creepy, supernatural stuff that, like, in real life scares me, right? That stuff's scary anyway, but, like...
Unless you're watching House of a Thousand Corpses.
Scared of everything! It's the human condition that's the scariest, because any human could do anything. So the possibility of danger is, like, endless, right? So, you know, most children are wonderful... like weird, smelly, sticky things, right? That just grow up and are excellent. Every once in a while, not so much. And so, like, you see something like this, and you're like, the possibility, the possibility of, like, super sweet kids, like deaf little child who's lovely and loves her mom, and then, you know, 9-year-old that's actually 33 that wants to kill everybody and steal the husband. And what was the plan? So, like, what did she think the plan was going to be if he was like, yes, I love you? Like, was she just going to be his, like...
And has she succeeded in seducing people before?
I don't know. She had a secret box that was full of pictures of, like,
people
dads.
That she killed.
It was just dads. It was creepy.
Well, what's funny was... Or not what's funny. What left me thinking was like, was she always unsuccessful? Like, she could never seduce these dads, and so she just killed them? Or was she sometimes successful and then just, like, killed them anyway because she's psycho?
Well, and I mean, and I also wonder, I would have to imagine something happened to this woman as a child that made her want to pretend to be a child and on some level stay there developmentally, right? And so...
Well, I think when you look so... different or childlike, when you're so short and childlike, then I guess it just, you start to put like 2 and 2 together, you know, you become a problem solver.
Oh shit, maybe. But I just, it's like it's a double-edged sword, right? Because, you know, you end up seducing these men in theory, and like if they actually like you, like maybe there's a part of you that also wants to kill them anyway, because like, why?
Because they're gross.
Yeah, like, why would they like you when you look like... Well,
that's like like the superhero flip of this movie. Like, she seduces men and then is like ill and then kills them.
Like the Avenger, the child... Well, then she'd be like a child protector, but she just wanted to kill everybody.
That'd be like the pedophile. Instead of rapist, it'd be pedophiles for I Spit on Your Grave.
Ooh.
If that makes sense.
Oh,
like
that
Esther
sounds like the worst ever. Oh, that would be on the list of movies not to ever make or watch.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
But I do think it'd be an interesting twist if somehow she was like an Avenger. And I also couldn't quite figure out what it would look like if she did have a supernatural twist other than some sort of possession.
I thought she was going to be possessed by the devil, but... Real quick,
cool.
The bonus feature that I thought was the highlight was the alternate ending, because she goes upstairs after... So Kate and Maxine escape into the snow, and the police come into the house, and she puts all her kid gear back on and then goes downstairs and goes, "Hello, I am Esther."
With like a creepy cut up face.
Right. Well, and what I didn't realize the first time when I watched the alternate ending was I thought that the cops are lowering their guns, and she's like tricked them, and she's like, and I thought, oh my God, she's gonna kill again. But when we rewatched it, they've all got their guns pointed at her, so it's almost like they've all figured it out, and they fade out just before they like blow her away, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because I thought also like maybe she tricked them, but she looked so creepy with her face all cut up, and she like tried to do her makeup real quick. Like she didn't look right.
Great, yeah. She looked like half and half,
but
like
then
half
again,
young, half old.
I have to recognize this is a movie, and so that's part of it. And so there's like, you know, you have to suspend reality. Like there's gonna be relationship dynamics that make no sense, or people like the therapist, right? Like there's a therapist who just like kind of sees everybody and talks about everything, and there's like no boundaries or ethics. It's just like Kate we all think you're fucking crazy.
Right.
I've met your daughter once, and she's just the most wonderful,
She's
and I'm a
charmed me into being
professional.
yeah, a lot of the adults are idiots.
Yeah,
in this
there was
movie.
no critical thinking.
It seemed like the only one who had her finger close to the pulse was the nun, and then she gets taken out. Yeah.
Well, because she raises a concern, and Esther hears it, and the only way that the child can live is if the secret stays a secret.
Right.
And then I guess again we're supposed to assume that anybody who found out the secret in the past went bye-bye, was just knocked off, which is
right.
Again, this little girl is leaving a trail of bodies in her wake, and everybody's like, she is so good at painting.
Right.
You're like, what the fuck?
So, and she looks creepy too, which brings me to the movie art.
She does also look creepy.
So what'd you think of the movie poster for this movie?
The movie poster is just, so it says Orphan, right, sort of in childlike handwriting, and then it's just a picture of her.
Yeah, is that supposed to be like crayon, or is it supposed to be like cut? Because she's a good artist. She doesn't have.
I think it's just supposed to look like kids' handwriting.
Or I thought it was supposed to be like.
There's
that's another reason why I thought it was supposed to be
lowercase letters. Like that R looks like a little kid's
supernatural element, because it looks like etched in blood, or like cut into flesh, and it's blood, or it's like.
Right, and the
auto
tagline
writing
again is there's something wrong with Esther, which makes it seem.
She looks like she has a mustache in that photo.
There's just like heavy shading.
There's something wrong with Esther.
Yeah, it looks like she's got like almost like football like grease paint on her cheeks, but
it says the trailer says you'll never guess her secret, and then on the movie poster she's got like a little mustache.
That's a different movie.
She's like, I want to sleep with Daddy. I would like to be sleeping with the daddy, please.
Give me moose and squirrel and daddy.
Come on, Peter Skarsgård. I want to be playing with your moose and squirrel.
Yeah, there were some interesting choices around accents. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a creepy poster. Like, would I hang it on my wall? Like, no. It's just like a young girl, like, looking straight ahead. Like, it's scary. Like, it's kind of creepy. Mm-hmm. But, but that also was those were the creepiest parts of the movie. It was just the, like, silent,
she's
creepy.
Standing
like,
over Maxine and shit.
Yeah, she doesn't do a ton of blinking. And, blinking is like a fairly important human thing, and makes us register like emotions. And
she kept doing the stare, or she called it the glare in her interview. She kept doing the glare at interviewers, and they kept being like, oh, stop it, it's so creepy.
Where she would just like not smile, and
it was
kind of blue steel face,
made me think of the whole like, you better not keep your face that way, it's gonna get stuck that way, and then
right.
It's nice that she got to utilize, or it's weird that when you're a kid and you like make a face like that, it's a creepy glare, and then when you grow up, it's like resting bitch face, or like, come on, girl, smile more,
Shit. Not the girl you want to say that to.
Come on, girl, smile, and then she just goes,
right, and loses it on you.
That was a crazy ass scene when they touch her book or whatever, and
so they try and remove her ribbons. So that's we didn't mention that. Our bad. But she wears ribbons on her wrist and her neck, and like the entire movie you have no idea what's going on. And there's even the nun mentions like, oh, we don't know, she goes crazy when you try and remove the ribbons, and you're like, oh god. And so at one point even I thought like, what if her head isn't attached? Like, what happens if you remove the ribbons? What's under the ribbons? Like, maybe that's how the suit comes off and the alien comes out, right?
Right.
Shock marks. Like,
you know what I thought they were going to be? Because early on in the movie, they say like, she's so mature. She never removes her ribbons. And you're like,
no, there's no problem except when you try and touch her ribbons.
right.
You know, and it's almost like the John Krasinski, like,
well, I thought they were,
look at the camera.
I thought they were going to be like, for some reason, I thought they were going to be like bloody, veiny, like strings coming out of her wrist and neck. And,
gnarly.
And they just sort of like went up past the camera shot,
scary.
And she just sort of is like being puppeted around by like a demon thing, or like I
that would be a scary that's scary.
Like the you'll never guess her secret thing, like up until it gets revealed, I pretty much thought that it was going to be like devil or something like that.
Were you like, did you feel shocked when you found out she was a 33-year-old woman?
I was a little shocked the first time I watched it, but more so that it was just like not supernatural, because the opening is so like bloody and CGI and like sharp baby teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and obviously it's a dream, but you don't totally know that, so it starts off in this like surreal way,
right?
And you know, because I remember even saying to you when it first started, like, wait, this has to be a dream, right? Like,
with
an
all
actor
the
would never do any of that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, including the
Speaking
fact
of-
that she's just bleeding everywhere. And,
Speaking of sharp baby teeth,
ooh, non sequitur, or perfect sequitur, I should say.
do you think that Rip Taylor had sharp baby teeth?
No, I think that he was born with like beautiful, soft, buttery teeth. Oh shit!
All right, so this brings us to our next segment, which is 6 Degrees of Rip Taylor, and so we're gonna try and link the movie that we just watched.
Yeah, Charlie
back
has
to Rip
decided
Taylor,
that we've
because
never
Rip
played,
Taylor's better
you
than
know,
Kevin Bacon.
6
I don't
Degrees
know.
of anything before, so why not go for the most obscure celebrity? So Rip Taylor, how would you describe Rip Taylor for the folks? Just a beautiful man with a bunch of confetti.
I was gonna say he was the king of confetti, and I think he was the host of the $1.98 show or something like that.
He was a comedian, so I guess do you wanna try this?
So Rip Taylor was in Jackass, which was an MTV production, which
Okay.
kind of opens it up to.
Yep.
So it was so Rip Taylor was in Jackass, which was an MTV production, and MTV produced the movie life show when they followed the House of Wax kids around. House of Wax was directed by Jamie. Oh, that's only 3. So that.
But that counts.
Does
You
that
did
count?
it
Did I do it?
Yeah,
Oh,
you did
cool.
it under 6. So that's yeah, that counts. And it's also like, wow, so there's more than one way there. That's fucking awesome.
Because you had one too.
So, well, but I don't know if this counts, but I was thinking, so Rip Taylor, Rip Taylor was in Wayne's World 2 with Mike Myers, who was on Saturday Night Live with Liam Neeson as a host. And Liam Neeson was in Kinsey with Peter Skarsgård.
So it's 6 or less.
Indeed.
Okay, cool.
Well, and evidently, although I still think this is highly suspect, evidently every human is basically connected to another human within 6 degrees of separation. But I don't know if that's really true. There are billions and billions of people in the world. I mean,
Who's to say?
I believe we all are connected in a much more closer proximity than we like to think, but 6 degrees is crazy. It's just crazy, I tell you.
But my baby, we were able to do it.
Good work.
All right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think? Would you recommend this movie to other people?
I would say, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? You could give it a try. It's weird. Just know what you're going in for, but it's like shot really beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
They have a gorgeous, like, architecturally astounding, like, modern
They went all over for
house.
this movie. They were like in Canada, and I think they were like in the islands of St. Thomas for some reason, or
Were
something.
they really?
It said St. Thomas. I don't know, But it just made me think of the Sonny Rollins jazz tune.
I wonder. I mean, because everything was really filmed in snow, but except for that beautiful scene
maybe
on
it was
the beach.
coconut shavings.
They went to St. Thomas just to buy thousands and thousands of pounds of coconuts
and shaving them down for the snow.
And also the shaving.
The shaving. You got the shaving. So I would definitely give this movie a thumbs up and recommend it to people because it was just sort of like a good creepy movie. Even though, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it was predictable in a way, but I mean, it had me thinking that it was a supernatural thing the whole way,
right? Until
it turns out that it's like a medical disorder or something like that,
right? And then also it's like not her fault. But
get out of there! She's a midget, Marty.
Well, but also and also like the medical disorder doesn't make her a psychopathic killer. So there's that too, where you're like, oh, I'm sorry that you don't get to age. That seems terrible, but you also don't like have to kill people for this.
So I was gonna say this is probably gonna be the last like good movie we watch, and this was Katie's pick, and so I think
I didn't know it was gonna be this high class of a film.
So I picked House of Wax because I thought it was gonna be ironic and kill piracy and stuff. And Katie picked Orphan because she thought it was going to be like so scary that we were going to have a lot to talk about.
Right. Like I thought it was going to be like.
And
weirder.
So my pick is next, and I think that it's this movie is a little too good, and I think what we're aiming for is either bad or so bad it was good. And so I think the next pick is going to be just something totally garbage, like maybe a trauma film or something like that, or maybe I can find like some high school kids movie that got put on the internet by mistake or something like that. Because it'd be hilarious. Or maybe we could talk about that backyard wrestling DVD that we picked.
Oh my god! Does that count as a film?
Are we doing films?
Films. Are
we doing DVD
movies? Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess we can be open for expansion. It's only episode 2. We could take it anywhere. We go anywhere.
We're evolving. We're gonna get some music for the segments and shit. Speaking of segments, you see how I'm doing this shit?
Oh my god!
It's just gonna get better and better, folks.
Organized.
We are now at the wrap up / plugs.
It's a wrap
segment.
up. A wrap up.
Wrap up. That's gonna be the jingle.
Wicked what?
All right. Well, thanks for listening to episode 2 of Milo and Milo Watch Movies.
Hey, thank you, Milo, for talking with me.
Blow it out your rear end, Milo. We watched The Orphan.
Oh, I never.
I do declare. So we watched The Orphan.
We sure did.
I don't know what my pick's going to be for next week, but it's going to be something like trashy and.
I'm waiting on. I'm on. Waiting with bated breath.
With masturbating breath.
Always and forever.
Do you have anything you want to plug? You got a therapy book coming out or anything like that?
Several in the next 10, 15 years. And you know me, I'm just a lady that likes to plug. Just in general, I like to plug it up.
Oh my god, like a butt plug.
Mostly butt plugs.
Mostly butt plugs is the name of the new band.
Mostly butt plugs. Sometimes plugs like from lamps, General Electronics.
Thomas Edison. I mean, shit. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. I invented the light bulb up my ass.
Oh my god. I think that's
rest in peace, Norm Macdonald.
I think that'll do it for me tonight. I think I'm all plugged out. Also, if you like a plug, check out Plug Waddington on YouTube's SoundCloud.
Plug Waddington is not on YouTube or SoundCloud.
Jesus, good Lord. So sorry for, all that. Well, you got to get Plug Waddington on the internet.
So, if you're in the Colorado Springs area, next Friday, I think, me, Marty, and Tony Sajowski are going to be playing some tunes at Jack Quinn's, so come out and check that out if you're a local listener.
I'll see if I'm around.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, and thanks everybody for hanging with us, listening with us, and we'll see you next week.
Woo!
Woo! Milo's out.